Hey everyone, since Labor Day is right around the corner, I couldn't think of a better time to talk about today's topic, which is how to trust God during a spiritual season of change. And so, just like the seasons shift from summer to fall, our lives go through seasons of change too. Some transitions we choose, and others, well, let's just say they choose us. Either way, the question is the same. How are you handling the changes God is allowing in your life? And so today we're going to talk about 3 ways that we often approach our spiritual season of change, also known as transitions through our lives, and why only one of them will truly move you forward. So the Bible reminds us in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, right? And so the problem is many of us want to stay in our old season, myself included, trust me, even when God is calling us into a new one. And when we resist, we delay our growth, our blessings, and sometimes even someone else's breakthrough, okay? And obviously, you don't want to be that person that's holding someone back, right? So let's break down the 3 mindsets that we can choose when we face life's transitions. Also, I'm going to be referring to as spiritual seasons of change, okay? So the first way that we often approach our transition is with a negative mindset. And let me tell you, I am definitely guilty of that. The past couple of years have been quite challenging, but the past couple of months have been a lot. And I'm going to be completely transparent. I have had a negative mindset. I've been battling with that for a while based on some of the things that have been happening in my life. And so a negative mindset looks like this. You're getting angry because God is pushing you out of your comfort zone. You want to control everything, the timing, the details, and the outcome. Resisting change and clinging to what's familiar, even when God's saying, I have better for you. I have something better for you. And so here's the thing. Here's the thing. You can't grow if you refuse to move. Okay? Again, you cannot grow if you refuse to move. And so the perfect example of this is Jonah. Jonah learned this the hard way. So God told Jonah to go to Nineveh, and Jonah ran in the opposite direction, right? He didn't want to change. He didn't want discomfort, but he ended up in the belly of a large fish before finally surrendering to God's plan. And so when we fight our spiritual seasons of change, again, also known as transitions, we delay God's blessings. And the longer we hold on to what's behind us, the harder it becomes to step into what's ahead of us, right? So the second way that we could approach our spiritual seasons of change, again, also referred to as transitions, is indifference. And I know a lot of people don't think about that. This indifference is not the same as negativity. It's more like avoidance. It's saying, I'm not going to fight, but I'm not going to move forward either. So I'm just going to sit here and let life happen to me. But here's the problem. Doing nothing is still making a decision. A lot of people don't realize that. Doing nothing is still making a decision. Choosing not to act often sets you on a slow drift towards having a negative mindset. Okay? And before you know it, doors start closing, opportunities pass you by, and your faith begins to weaken. Okay? And here's something that most people tend to forget. Your indecision doesn't just affect you. We're all connected. And I think a lot of us forget about that. We are all connected in some way, shape, or form. And when you refuse to step into your next season, you may be delaying someone else's breakthrough too. God designed your story to weave into someone else's. And if you stay stuck, you might be holding up their blessing. And that's something that I've always been afraid of, because I'm someone who loves to be productive, and I don't ever want someone waiting on me. I love being on time, and I love helping other people to achieve their dreams as well. And I don't ever want to be a stumbling block or that person that prevents someone else from achieving their dream. Okay. So, we want to make sure that we don't have that type of indifferent mindset either. And so the third way, and the only way that truly leads to growth, is choosing to have a positive mindset rooted in faith. And this is saying, God, I don't have all the answers, but I trust you. And if you're pushing me outside of my comfort zone, it must be because you're preparing me for something better. And let me tell you, it has been very difficult for me to pray that same prayer because a lot of difficult challenges have been coming my way. But a positive mindset puts you in a position to develop the attributes of Christ. Faith, patience, courage, wisdom, and there's so many others, right? You're in a position to gain knowledge and understanding as you navigate through these new spiritual seasons of change. And you're able to grow your faith by learning to trust God. And when the path isn't clear, okay? And it's difficult to trust God when those paths aren't clear. But I want you to think of these transitions or spiritual seasons of change like doors. So God opens them when he knows that you're ready, but you have to walk through that door. Okay? He's not going to do it for you. He'll open the door when you're ready, but you have to be willing to walk through it. And so you can't stand on the threshold, clinging to the past or refusing to make a decision and then expect to see his promises fulfilled. It doesn't work that way, okay? When you move forward in faith, God equips you with exactly what you need for the journey. Here's the beautiful part. God's timing is always perfect. And these past couple of weeks, I have seen, I can attest to the fact they've been challenging weeks, but I have seen that literally develop right before my eyes, how perfect God's timing is. And so we have to be mindful of the fact that if God's closing a chapter, it's because the next one is better. Okay. And if he's removing certain people, opportunities, or environments from your life, it's because they can't go where he's taking you. Trust God. He sees what you can't see. And his plans are always good for you. All right. So here is the takeaway that I want you to keep in mind during your spiritual seasons of change. Okay. Number one, again, a negative mindset is going to keep you stuck. An indifferent mindset is going to delay your growth. But a positive mindset positions you to experience God's best. And so when life seasons change, trust God's process. And I know that is easier said than done. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. But again, when life's seasons change, I want you to trust God's process. Don't fight it. Don't fear it. Lean into it because he's preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. And let me know, what spiritual season are you in right now? What transitions are you trusting for God to bring about for you? And so if this message has encouraged you, please like this video, subscribe, share this channel with a friend if someone needs a reminder to embrace their spiritual season of change. And remember, if you're everything to everyone, The risk being no one. You never know who you will inspire. See you in the next video.